go ahead and get started. Can everybody hear me, or should I try to use the microphone? Would that be helpful? Okay, great. So thanks for coming this morning. This is my first big presentation I've ever done. So I've been a bilateral amputee since just before turning 2, so I'm kind of just giving like self-advocacy, things I've learned in the last 31 years, and just living life as an amputee. Oh, sure, no problem.
Yeah, do that.
You're gonna test it.
Hello?
Okay.
All right, so in 1986, I had meningococcal septicemia, and that is basically meningitis of my bloodstream. It caused just general deterioration of my blood cells. My blood stopped flowing, and it affected my limbs pretty immediately. My parents rushed me to the hospital when they noticed I had some purple splotches all over my body. I had a really high fever and very irritable. Yeah, so there was very minimal success with the treatment for meningitis. We lucked out that the nurse on staff recognized it as meningitis. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with meningitis, but it kind of presents as like, you know, battery is dead, I'm sorry.
We got out of that one.
Oh, you're fine.
Sorry about being late.
I'll try to be louder. Is that okay? Let's see. So meningitis presents as basically flu-like symptoms. It's pretty deadly within 24 hours. If you're not in the hospital, you're pretty unlikely to survive it. So I am a left at-knee amputee and a right through knee amputee. So I have very atypical amputations. Everything I have is custom for my prosthesis. I can't just like order it from like Autobach or anywhere, just like online. Since having meningitis, I've been a relatively healthy child. I've only had reconstructive surgeries. I haven't had any additional medical concerns due to having meningitis. And some of my photos are pretty graphic, so hopefully this isn't like a trigger for anybody. I'm a counselor, so I'm kind of in tune with everyone's mental health and well-being, so I understand if you need to look away. So basically, my body just started dying. They tried for about a week to kind of just make things work, and clearly it wasn't working. So I spent about 3 months in the hospital, and over time I had various surgeries, and I had to have my second birthday in the hospital. Don't remember what I was gonna say about these pictures, but here they are, they're pretty intense. So self-advocacy and my own hurdles. Until about 5 years ago, I didn't want to talk about anything. I was very shy and intimidated and afraid of being different. I just wanted to blend in and be normal like all of my peers. I grew up in a very small town, so there was basically no one else with a disability, let alone something like physically different with them. So I felt very isolated and alone, and my mental health really suffered. I had a lot of depression and anxiety. And I would only talk about my prosthesis and my residual limb concerns when I was at the doctor with my family. So my family didn't realize that I wasn't adapting socially to all of these concerns. I always had my mom there to advocate for me. She would say, Jessica needs her legs to do this. She needs to be able to play with her friends and run through the sprinkler and do all these great things. And I always assumed she would be the one there to advocate for things that I wasn't getting. Yeah, so ages like 15 to 26, I was just basically mute about my disability, kind of made it invisible, which is a lot harder than one could imagine. I mean, my legs, my prosthesis here blend in pretty well. Like, I came from a different era, so I always wanted my legs to look like legs. I wear tights, I wear dresses, just my thing. But obviously my legs still look different from somebody with skin on their legs. So around 26, I decided that I was going to use my Tumblr blog to chronicle a reconstructive surgery. The scar tissue on my arms was kind of very restrictive. It was from 1986. I was 2 years old. So I decided this would be a good time to give people kind of some insight on what goes on just with reconstructive surgery. I'm sure many of you have gone through it. I had tissue expanders, and that was like a 6-month process at the time. I had a surgery to implant a tissue expander. I think there was 2. And then over about 3 to 4 months, we had to fill them with saline, get them bigger, and then there was another surgery to kind of make a Z-plasty with my scar tissue on my arm. I will say I haven't had any reconstructive surgeries to my legs, which is kind of unheard of. So the next year after I had chronicled that for about 6 months, I kind of posed a question on my blog, is anyone interested in hearing about my amputations? I had never reached out to other people. I've never met anybody who was an amputee at my personal prosthetics company, I guess. Everyone was about 60 years older than me for my whole life going there, so it wasn't like I wanted to chat to some guy about being an amputee when he had just become one. So yeah, just this year, I've started meeting fellow amputees. I've interacted through the National Amputee Coalition Facebook page, which is a really great resource, which you guys are here, so you know that. So this picture on the left is what my residual limbs look like with prosthesis. I have probably 50-50 scar tissue to regular tissue. And if I was to have reconstructive surgery on my residual limbs, I believe my left limb would basically be this hip disarticulation. I should know these terms, but I don't, and I'm sorry. And the same for the right side. They would probably take what I have remaining of a knee. Yeah, so typically I spend a lot of time bandaging. I'm not sure how much wound care people do, because you probably have a lot smoother residual limb without all the scar tissue. But it's part of my life, and I've made my residual limbs work for me, but I'm by no means saying you should let your legs look like this if you don't want that. This is my previous pair of prosthesis. Since I do wear cosmetic hosiery, they have to come off to do any sort of fixes. If the feet are tipping backwards, I don't know if there's any bilateral amputees in here who wear 2 prosthesis. There's a lot of just things you have to make sure are even in both legs, so you're not tripping and falling and all of that jazz. And also, if anyone has questions while I'm speaking, definitely speak up, because I like a good conversation. So self-advocacy. So you're an individual, and you should definitely find out what works for you. You're an expert in your own health and well-being. Realizing maybe what your limits are, but also what your strengths are. I think that's super important in finding your voice and getting things like accommodations, you use a wheelchair or other assistive device. How does that look at home? Do you have a home setup so you can use your assistive devices and be independent? And the same with work. I've always found jobs where I didn't have to walk upstairs every day, I didn't have to stand all day. So just building in these kind of accommodations without realizing it. I also think using handicapped parking, even if you're having a good leg day, is important, because you don't want to waste a good leg day after you've been out doing something fun to then be hobbling back to your vehicle or your friend's vehicle, and then you have to sit down for 5 days and you have nothing you can do. And also don't forgo comfort. I am not a good example of this. I will stand until I'm in pain, which is silly. Don't do that. asked to sit down, asked to stand up. Like, even right now, if you guys need to stand up and walk around the room, do it. Whatever makes you comfortable, get that blood flowing. If you need to sit the whole time, totally understand. Self-advocacy is going to be ongoing. It's not a one and done type of situation. You're gonna find things that you need to advocate for that you never thought you were going to need to do that for. It does become easier over time sharing your story. It's obviously very emotional. Everybody has their own unique story. And definitely find people in your life, family members, loved ones, friends, who just make you feel comfortable in your own skin and accept you for who you are, because obviously you're amazing. You've tackled an amputation. And ask for help. It can be a little bit like demoralizing, but it's okay to ask for help. You don't have to be strong all of the time. And I also do a lot of traveling. I make sure I get out. I mean, we went and walked around San Francisco with some high school friends, and then I paid for it for the next week, but I need to experience life. I don't want to just lay on the couch all the time, and I'm sure it's the same for everyone here. I want to be involved with the world and society. So I don't know how many of you get asked about your story, which is very personal, by strangers. This happens to me all the time. Many times people think I'm using handicap parking because I've stolen a tag from my grandparents or something. Because they're like, you're too young, why are you using this spot? You don't have to tell anybody your story. That's your story. If you're feeling like it, great. If you're not, you're probably never gonna see them again. So, not worth it in my opinion, which it took me a long time to come to that conclusion. Yeah, so anytime I'm asked, I get like really off the wall stories. Like, my brother went swimming in manure and he got meningitis and he lost his legs at a beauty supply store. Like, I didn't ask for that question. I was followed around the store, asked about my scars, like, very intrusive. So I don't know, I'm not sure where these people are coming from, because I would never think to ask somebody anything that personable about their life. And I think having just a quick elevator version of your story is so helpful. I used to have this long drawn out multiple sentence thing, and then I was like, what am I doing? I can just say I had meningitis and I'm an amputee and I can walk away. I don't have to sit there. I don't have to tell anyone my story. They're gonna forget. Most of the time they don't care. They're just nosy and they just want to find out in the moment. It doesn't really matter. Just 3 weeks ago, I was having bad leg day. I had a wound that's been healing for a while. Somebody asked me if I played volleyball. I played volleyball, but that's not why I'm limping. And so I just said no, and I walked away, and it was very empowering. I didn't have to say anything to them. And I'm sure I probably ticked them off a little bit, but not my problem on a bad leg day. I don't want to ruin anyone's day, but I also don't need to share anything that I don't want to. But connecting with other amputees is a totally different situation. You can say, hey, I see you have this component. How does that work for you? And it's different. You're not, you're both experiencing very similar life experiences, and just learning from each other is so wonderful. Just in the few years I've been using that National Amputee Facebook group has been great. People sharing I use these supplements to help with my swelling, or I use this ointment to help with an open wound. It's just been so helpful. Or just, I'm having a bad day, what do you guys do? So I started, let's see, a YouTube channel, 2013, with a small following. I use my blog to discuss reconstructive surgeries, as I mentioned before, scars, and being a bilateral amputee. Yeah, I've already covered this, I guess, so I'll just go to the next slide. So self-advocacy at your prosthetist office is important. So many people want to tell you what they want to do for your legs, and they're not the ones wearing them. I I've more than once I've refused to work with people who are telling me what I need. They're telling me you can only wear tennis shoes. That's not my lifestyle. That's not what I need from somebody. You're an integral part of the team, and you're an expert in what you want. If you want to be able to walk with your family to the park and it doesn't hurt, let your prosthetist know, like, I need my prosthesis to fit amazingly. I need to be able to walk unassisted, with my wheelchair, with whatever. And they can work with you. If it's a good prosthetist, I can't say that word, and I'm sorry, I should be able to. Yeah, it should be better. So when you're working with your, I'm gonna say leg guy or girl, leg person, tell them what you want to do and what you want to achieve. Like if you wanna work 4 hours a day and come home and relax for the rest of the day, let them know. Like, I'm gonna need minimal wear out of this prosthesis, but I want it to be comfortable. Speak up with something doesn't feel right. I mean, for 20 years, I wouldn't say anything until my mom said, is there something wrong with your leg? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm having a breakdown. My leg is, you know, there's a screw poking into my skin. Like, just ridiculous things that I wouldn't speak up about, and it's mostly a quick fix. Like, you probably spend hours at a time at the prosthetist's office, and it's boring, but it's worth it if you can fix your leg and get up and get on with life. And if you want certain components, like specific knees or feet, I personally just want the same thing for the last 12 years, and I tell them that. I basically want these, but brand new, and they do that for me. They do try to convince me from time to time, oh, you should try this exciting foot. But being a bilateral amputee, I know that I need stability, I need to be able to stand in place, I need to be able to feel secure. I don't remember the name of the feet that I used once, but they were both very springy, and so with every step I fell down, and that is not helpful to me. That would be helpful to somebody who has, you know, a single amputation. And don't be afraid to ask questions on how to like take care of your prosthesis. That was something I also didn't really think about, like why would I clean any of this, or should this be already worn out? And I do have a couple of my silicone liners. I don't know how many of you use these. I previously, for the 26 years before this style of prosthesis, used wool socks, which is not very forgiving. It's very uncomfortable. So I have these silicone liners that are custom made, and they're from Amputee, which I believe they're here.
They are.
So I know a lot of them are just one shape. So these obviously are more expensive, but if you have an irregular, atypical amputation, you want something that fits like a glove. You want it to be good contact with your residual limb, and just it feels better if it's not bunching as you're walking or sitting or really anything. So if anyone wants to see these later.
I got a question. Are
Yeah.
the silicone liners more breathable than other liners?
Not really. I would say I do a lot of sweating in my prosthesis. But that brings up another point. Baby wipes come with me everywhere, so I can go to the bathroom, dry off or wipe down my legs with any sweat that has built up. And I also, for the first year of wearing prosthesis with the silicone liners, would put Certain Dry, which is deodorant, right onto my residual limb, and built up like a sweat, anti-sweat situation. So sweating is not my friend, so like the humidity here was kind of a shock when I got out of the car. Yeah, but it's better than wearing wool socks, I would say, because I'm not sure of other components that people may use as a barrier. I think some people don't even use a barrier. Yeah, it's a good question. Let's see. Yeah, so the poorly fitting socket thing again. Tell your prosthetist, or even just walk for your prosthetist, and they should be able to say, oh, you're pistoning in your socket. Let me fix that. Your foot is curved the wrong way. I'll fix that for you, and then you can walk without hurting yourself. So these are some of my videos, and I do have a link if you guys are interested. There was, when we were making these prostheses last walking in the test sockets. I can play just a minute or so of that if you guys are interested. Sure. It's a little bit shaky, but it's better than nothing. I'm not sure if there's sound.
I love you too.
What's that?
I love you too.
Yes, it's so great. So I'm wondering, does anybody else have a test socket or a check socket before they get their final prosthesis? Okay, do you take it home and like walk around? No? Okay.
I'm a pain in the
No,
ass.
it was
Yes.
just an honest.
Because
too.
I'll wear it for 3 or 4 months,
Okay, yeah.
fiddling around with this and that and the other thing. I'm a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I have a list, a checklist, and I'm like, here you go. Fix these, and I'll take them back, and then I'll
And
do it
I
again.
call them up, I say, I'm coming in today. Cut with
Clear your
this appointment.
schedule.
Yeah.
I'm coming.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just show up. My husband's bilateral.
Okay.
Sometimes we just show up and they're like, we don't have any appointment.
Tell
Surely
me.
there's
Someone's
someone
here.
here
Yeah.
to adjust it. If he doesn't have an appointment, then there's somebody else here.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty soon the office girls get all flustered, but
Yep.
pretty soon somebody comes out and it's usually the guy you normally see, so.
Yeah.
Just chain yourself to their desk.
Yes, exactly.
I'm happy to be a pain in the ass.
Me too.
And then I don't come. You know, when it fits, I don't come.
Exactly.
That's your prize. I don't come.
That's right. So I had never had test sockets before. I switched to Prosthetic Laboratories, which was bought out by Hanger, so now it's a Hanger clinic. Before that, I was just in a small, like, Madison, Wisconsin-based clinic, and they would just give me legs, and I was just supposed to wear them. So, which is kind of frustrating. There were a few pairs of legs that I never took out of my closet to wear because they didn't fit right and no one listened to me. So now being able to take these home and test them out, that video clip or those 2 clips that I showed was 2 different appointments where they were obviously using like test components from the office and just me trying it out. I took those home. I walked around my house. Well, I guess I should back up a little bit. So when I get new prosthesis, I start out by wearing just the liners for a little bit because it's going to be a different fit. Your residual limb kind of, I'd say like ebbs and flows, like it's going to change, it's going to retain water, water weight. So just wearing those to get your residual limb accustomed to having something on it all the time. If this is the first time you've had a prosthesis, like just sit in it, just wear your liners or just put the leg on and don't even stand up. Just sit there, wear it, get used to the feeling of having a prosthetic limb attached to your body, and then the next day, maybe try standing up once for a few minutes. Don't think this is the right slide for it, but I'll also talk about this. So self-acceptance, again, every time I've shared my story, it's easier to discuss and further accept myself as a unique individual. So understanding being an amputee is part of me, but it does not define who I am. I'm also, I've gone to grad school, I have an amazing job, I have a blog that is about my amputation, I have friends, I have family outside of just being an amputee. Nothing wrong with being an amputee, but it's not the only thing that makes me who I am. I had a lot of anxiety about being on the right timeline as friends were getting married and having babies, and I was still like, I haven't accepted myself. What am I doing with my life? So not comparing myself to somebody else, and even like other amputees I've seen in the media in the last like 5 or 6 years, like, why do they have these prostheses and I still have something that's so bare bones that doesn't even work for me, and now these work for me. These are the best pair that I've ever had, but just seeing somebody else get something that I didn't even have access to was very difficult to process mentally and emotionally. So just understanding the strength you possess as a survivor. Amputation isn't something you're willingly going out to do in most cases. So you've overcome huge obstacles, and now you're learning how to walk and be independent and be, you know, the best person you can be, and using your strengths to help others. I think being able to share things that have worked for you, like using test sockets worked for me, or using shoes with this certain grip works for me to walk better. And understanding you're gonna have good days and bad days for the rest of your life. You're not gonna get over one open wound and all of a sudden you're never gonna have another sore on your leg ever again. That's just not realistic. And the same with just your mental health. Like, some days you're gonna feel great and you're gonna wanna go out and do everything. And then others, you're just gonna wanna lay in bed, watch TV, and hope that tomorrow's a better day. Very many facets of myself here. I like going dancing, even though my YouTube channel says all done dancing, but that's not about dancing at all. But there are days when I am just sobbing because I'm so fed up trying to figure out what works and what doesn't, and why can't I just figure this out, and why isn't it the same thing that works every time? Some days I have the energy to go and work out. In the last few months I haven't, and I'm not beating myself up about it. Like, I will get there when I get there. So I'm a big proponent on using holistic approaches to my wound if possible. This is not like something that came out of my body. This is turmeric and honey, and it's good for swelling. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional, but I've dealt with enough open wounds and leg issues that I've found things that have worked for me. So a lot of times my scar tissue will kind of break down if I'm really warm and whatnot. Bruising, blisters, the whole gamut of things. So just making sure that you're inspecting your residual limb every day, you know what's going on with it. Again, just looking for like bruises and redness, and sores and blisters and all that fantastic stuff that comes with being an amputee. Making sure your residual limb gets cleaned every day, which can be a hassle. Like, I'm not somebody who showers every day, but I make sure my legs get cleaned off in some fashion. Again, baby wipes come in handy. Just using an
just so that we're clear on this, okay, I ride horses, and baby wipes would do me no good at all.
Okay.
Because after I ride, I take everything off and pour sweat out.
Yep.
And I make puddles on the floor, and I dry it with a towel. Baby wipes are not going to.
Yeah, no, yeah. I would do that if I had that machine. Yeah, I definitely have sweat that I have poured out of my liners, and I'm like, all right, here we go.
Several times a day.
Yeah. So yeah, if you have towels handy or a sink, like, use that.
I wanted to say a comment, and I'm not a medical person either, but I was on a vacation and I got a little sore. I can't do without my prosthesis. What am I going to do?
Right.
So I bought new skin. It was little,
Okay.
very little. Couldn't do it on a baby wound, but I just put it down there. I could put the prosthesis back down. It didn't get any worse, but I wanted to just mention it since
Yeah.
I've already passed the wound section.
Sure. Oh, we can talk about it whenever you want. I use, this is my bandaging kit that I bring with me literally anytime I know I'm going to be away from home for a long period of time, or I'm going to be sweaty, I'm going to have to reapply my bandage. So I can't think of the name right now, but let me just grab what it is. Tegaderm. This saves my life every single day. I put some on this morning because I was starting to blister, because it is much more humid here than it was in Wisconsin.
Tegaderm.
Tegaderm. And then,
Tegaderm.
Do you want to pass it around?
Yeah.
I thought about that, but it's really hard to find it.
Okay. Yeah, you could have your doctor prescribe it, and then you could get it from your pharmacist.
Yeah, why did we?
I've actually gone to different places,
Okay.
like the drugstore, and they've
Right.
been able to find it.
She's with me.
Pass it
Even
around.
though I have the packaging with me, and I ended up going to a dermatologist who had given me just some free samples, but I found it really hard to get. And I
Okay.
looked on Amazon, but then I needed 575 of them. Right, so that's true, that's true. And also, there are the certain tychoderms, there are the tychoderms that have the bandage in the middle.
Oh, sure.
And I've done some, not things like being stressed over a blister, and gotten the one that was totally clear without the bandage in the middle. So that's a nightmare, although it did come off, I did work it off when I was in the bathtub, but that is a lifesaver. I have no idea, I had a nasty blister. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to steal your show.
No, no, go for it.
And I was petrified, I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna end up in the hospital. And the dermatologist had told me what to do, to put an antibacterial prescription cream on it, with something called Adaptic, which I don't know if anyone has heard of that. It's like a gauze that you can stick to it, and then that Tychoderm over it, and oh my God, it was like an incredible miracle. It healed up. I was so blessed I could wear
And
my
you can leave it for a
prosthesis.
couple of days,
Mhm.
depending on what you
Yeah.
need.
Yeah,
Right.
but anyways, that was my story. I know everyone is very individualized, but it was just like,
Right.
I was petrified.
Yeah, it's pretty
And
scary.
it cleared up, and it was, a miracle.
So
Yeah.
it's like a bandage?
Yeah, I just,
Film.
yep, it's like a,
I thought you weren't supposed to use anything like
But if it will stay in the hospital, it's the clear bandage that goes over the top of your IV.
yeah.
My husband also likes, if you get a small spot that's a hot spot or whatever, the Lightwear.
Oh, I haven't used that.
Oh my gosh, they have them here.
That's what we tried to
Oh,
sample.
yeah, I forgot the,
It's blue, and then, they're like little pieces, they have, everything size you can order them or whatever.
Mhm.
They were giving samples of.
Yeah, I got one. I haven't
don't know if
used it
they're
yet.
giving samples here.
Yeah.
Small
Yeah.
samples, okay, we'll have to go back and visit that.
Yeah.
I just saw them.
He loves that, he recommends it to everyone, because you just put it on a little hot spot, I mean, it's not something for everybody, right?
Is it a cream or something?
No, it's fabric.
It's a
It's two pieces of fabric that's lined.
Oh my gosh, you know what? I got one last night. I can't believe I couldn't get this one.
Okay.
For a blister, or just for like a spot on my foot. It looks like this. It looks like, a little blue
nice.
thing. And you don't put it on your skin, you put it.
In between your leg, right, in between your leg and the front.
So I can put it on my lights.
Like, it kind of looks like inside, just next to that, but it's just like, you know,
And they have them here?
What was the company?
Yeah, what's the company?
Lightwear.
Lightwear.
I know.
I think they're under the auspices of another company.
You've got to,
They're here.
and they have bigger pieces that are two pieces of fabric that slide on each other.
Like real thin nylon.
Yeah, it's nylon spandex.
It's a bad.
We'll see how it goes.
In the back, did you have a question? Okay. Yeah, yeah. Good to know.
What was it?
Like SPIMULANT, powder, POWER.
Did you have a question?
Yeah. In the one,
Oh, sorry.
in the one picture you showed the tape across your knee, I think it was.
Yeah, let's see.
So
I
what
actually
kind
have
of
a-
tape do you use that doesn't stick and cause more irritation?
So I use steri strips. And you can get those at Walgreens, from your doctor.
Give it to the therapist.
Yeah.
And it
So
doesn't
I
hurt
kind
your
of-
skin?
No.
No, it's good. For
Yeah.
Your, it's good for your knee.
So it kind of keeps the wound closed, promotes healing.
They put those on often when they take out stitches or
Yeah.
Yeah.
sutures.
It's basically a cloth stitch.
Got it.
What else is in your magic bag?
Let's see. Aquaphor is amazing. I normally put that on overnight just with a cotton sock, and it helps heal like any sort of the irritation on my scar tissue. I don't know if anyone else uses Autobach, but when I get my prostheses or the silicone liners, I get this SensiCare moisturizing cream skin protectant, so it kind of builds a barrier around your skin, and then the liner isn't sticking in any one place, but in the summer it makes you sweat a little bit more, I'm not gonna lie. So I wear it mostly in the winter when my skin is dry, and then that prevents me from having another open wound. I use a lot of baby care products like diaper rash ointment. Zinc is really great for healing. I also use this Burt's Bees Baby Bee, and this tub is like huge, and it's like $8 or $9, and it's a dream. Let's see.
What's your little bottles up there?
Those are tea tree and eucalyptus. So I use the tea tree for like muscle soreness and stiffness.
Under your prosthetic?
So when I have my prosthetic off at the end of the day, that's when I kind of rub like a essential oil. I know some people have allergic reactions to that, so maybe mixing it with water so you're,
Do it with a.
Or another carrier oil,
yeah.
like an almond oil or something.
Oh, what's that stuff you cook with?
Oh, coconut oil?
Coconut oil.
Yes, yeah. Or I even add that to like a bath when I soak my legs. Since I'm missing both of my limbs, I have to just sit in the bath and do this. So I'll add probably 5 to 10 drops of that, and it just, for whatever reason, it seems to make my legs feel better after they're really sore.
What are they two again?
Tea tree oil and eucalyptus oil.
Do you use both of those together, 10 drops each of that?
You can.
But you just use the tea, were you just talking about the tea tree?
Yeah,
10
I
drops?
think I use more tea tree oil as far as like my muscles being sore.
I also use peppermint.
Yeah,
for
that's
my,
really good.
my nerve pain.
Yeah,
And I put it like behind my ear. And it, oh my God.
yeah, it's a dream.
It's a natural anti-inflammatory, and the
Yes.
tea tree is a natural antibiotic.
So I'm actually gonna write those down.
You have to be careful with essential oils, don't you? You know, 'cause
Yeah.
they could really, really burn your skin.
Mhm.
And that's why I said use it with a carrier oil,
Yeah.
such as a coconut oil or
Tea
an
tree
almond
to
oil or
conduct it.
something.
Eucalyptus.
Look it up. I'm one of those bad spellers. I have an app on my phone called Oil Guide,
Oh, okay.
and it's really cool because if you have a headache, you can look up what oils you can mix together and what carrier oils, or if you have, doesn't say phantom pain, but for pain.
Sure.
And so I mix up a little thing and I have these really cool little roller bottles. And
Oh, that is really good.
when
to
I
know.
take my prosthetic off, I actually go on the end of my stomp, I go on the other foot and behind my knee and behind my ears and it just kind of takes that edge off.
Yeah.
If it's real intense, it doesn't.
Right,
matter,
yeah,
so it's gonna
and
help
that's
it.
something
So,
else I was gonna
but
say.
it's fun to look up stuff and
Mhm.
see what you can do.
Yeah,
All natural.
What is it?
The app.
The app's called Oil Guide, so it's a free app. You just go into your app store. There's a bunch of them. Some of them cost, some of them don't. But it's just basically it's not a specific brand. It's for any brand, and it just, I mean, the list is huge. You can pretty much find anything on there. And there's some of them you can do orally, and I mix them in little capsules with stuff. And you know, if you're having a digestive problem or anything, basically, so it's kind of cool.
Going
What did you say you put behind your ears? Is that the peppermint oil?
I mix a mixture of about 3 different ones. And
I put the peppermint oil behind my ears.
What is the mixture? What grade do you use?
there's one called Panaway, which is for pain. Gosh, I'm just kinda, I could look it up, but I'm drawing a blank.
I'm also really, I use arnica a lot. It helps with stiffness, injuries, and this was just from like a Whole Foods. So it's a cream that I put on after I've taken my prosthesis off and they've been sore. It also helps with like bruises and back pain and sprains and stiffness, so it's pretty great. Arnica, and I mean, you can buy it in like pill form. I think I've purchased it. Let's see, I don't know if it's in here right now though.
So they also have a cream or a lotion.
Yeah, this one's a cream, yeah.
Some of them have orange and
And I know I've gotten it as like an essential oil as well to put directly on my skin. But yeah. So I, from day to day, can have a lot of water weight and swelling. So I was just gonna touch on that quickly. I just realized it's like 20 to 9 already, but that's fine. So things I've noticed that have caused my limbs to swell, number one is alcohol. Luckily I'm not a big drinker, but when I do have like a glass of wine, the next day I'm like, okay, now my leg is swollen. Dairy and carbohydrates. I'm from Wisconsin, so getting rid of those two things seems impossible, but if I can avoid them as much as possible, it does help. Sitting for long distances, like the drive from Wisconsin here, like we had to stop every couple of hours just so my blood was flowing properly. The same with flights. When you're not moving, your blood isn't flowing and it just is uncomfortable. Let's see. Yeah, so definitely incorporating residual limb care into your daily care, which I'm sure everyone is doing, is important, but also self-care. Doing something not about being an amputee, doing something you love, like reading or sewing or painting or listening to music, like doing something for an hour a day that has nothing to do with being an amputee helps your mental health so much. Like just not thinking about something, watching a movie, watching a TV show, just relaxing. So dating and social situations, date when you feel ready. Like if you've become an amputee recently and you don't want to talk about being an amputee, you're probably not going to get past the first date. And I'm smiling because I've probably gone on 150 first dates since I turned 24. That's a waste of time. So don't do that. Just do it when you're ready. Don't do it because your friends are dating. Do it when you're ready. We all strive for that human connection, so when you're comfortable with yourself, the rest will just come naturally. Let's see. And if someone doesn't accept you because you're an amputee, they're not for you, even though it sucks. Like, that feels awful. But they don't get how awesome you are, and you're great, and you're a survivor. Even though it's terrible, I can tell you my whole 20s was terrible because of that. And just again, addressing your limb loss when you're comfortable and just have fun. Like, don't make it be sterile and uncomfortable when you talk about it. Just, as you're ready, tell somebody about it. Yeah. No, that's fine. Yes. Right. ADA, yeah. Right. I'm all for talking to the manager of places and telling them that something is not accessible. If I can't get into your bathroom because you have 2 stairs going up to it and I'm having a bad leg day, I'm gonna leave. Like, so I think just talking to the general manager, sometimes they care, sometimes they don't, which I guess is true for anything, but yeah.
Check out the bathroom
I was told last night, in Center for Accessible Living, that if you have a problem, that you need to call the Human Relations, Protection Agency, and if you need the number, it's 574-3631.
Is that a national number or is that for here? Do you know?
Oh, it's 502.
502? Okay.
Yeah. That's for here.
Okay.
It's Metro Relations, Protection Agency.
That's good to know. Thank you. Did you have a question?
Only when the real estate changes hands, you have to follow the national guidelines. And that's when something will get up to you. That was the restaurant a little while ago. You walk in through the handicap part of the restaurant, and then I'm sitting down, and I said, where's the bathroom? And the lady said, oh, it's up on the second floor. And I said, well, how's that handicap accessible? And her face just dropped, and she said, it's not installed. And I said, how'd you get away with that? She said, we don't use.
Yeah.
Something, the next person has to upload to make up.
Sure, you can turn it on before the.
It's grandfathered in.
Okay.
You can still record it.
Yes, absolutely.
You can still record it, it's ADA.gov, and one of the other sections I was at, ADA.gov.
Yeah.
They can still record it, I mean,
Yeah, no,
they
absolutely.
might not, they might not do anything, but the more reports they get about
Yeah.
something, the more.
You can yell it too.
That's true. Oh, yeah. That's a good
She
point.
said, if you're a handicap, you don't want to go to this restaurant.
But the local government is also
Oh, really?
they'll have an office of advocacy or something like that. And they're the ones that might get on the legal like.
Enough for the people reported.
Right.
Good to know. Thank you. Yeah, just more pictures of me traveling, some days being bloated at my great friend's wedding, having a terrible leg day, having a breakdown before she walked down the aisle because I couldn't even stand in my prosthesis, and then other days being able to walk around Toronto because we made the wrong turn and walked for 3 miles, so.
Oh girl, I get it. I was at my sister's wedding and like, I was walking around like dying, limping. But the second I got to her like reception, my leg came off and I was in my wheelchair. I was like, oh, forget
Yes.
it.
My leg popped off, it's terrible.
Oh, man.
Excuse me, could you give me that leg?
Are you able to hear it? Are you able to hear it?
When I was 5, I was at a prangy way, which I'm a little bit older than I may appear. And my leg made a very loud, like, gunshot noise because I broke the foot. And I was next to a stranger, and my grandma was in the other aisle, and I just yelled, "Grandma, I broke my leg." And she was like, "Okay," and we just left. And the woman was horrified next to me, like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah, that still happens to me too. It's a real nice treat when you're working. Trying to be a professional clinician. So tips and tricks that I've kind of gathered over 30 years, always be prepared. Like, know where you're going. Like, if I'm going to the grocery store, I'm not gonna bring like a bandaging kit, but like, coming here, I knew to bring extra liners, baby wipes, all these creams and ointments and bandages, because I'm not gonna go to the pharmacy here and buy all of this stuff because it's really expensive to always be buying it. Weather preparedness. In Wisconsin, we have long winters. I have my own canister of salt that I am not afraid to sprinkle on commercial properties. Like, if I need to go shopping and you have ice all over the front of your sidewalk, I'm going to put my salt down, and then I'm gonna come talk to your manager because it's completely unacceptable. Yeah, I have like my own shovel, my own scraper, and in the summer, again, the towels, deodorant, bandages, baby wipes. Being hydrated with water is super important. Traveling outside of your comfort zone, I can say, since getting these new prosthesis, And I should back up to like the beginning and say my previous prosthesis were held on by a waist belt. So now that I have a suction pair of prosthesis, it's been like a new way of life, basically. So my friend and I here, we traveled to both Toronto. Their ADA or their version of ADA was amazing. Like there were sidewalk cutouts that were easy to get to. There was elevators easily accessible. Even like a music festival was super accommodating to any requests we might have had. And then last spring we went to Dominican Republic. That was not accessible. Like just gonna, their curbs are this high, and I literally had to get some sort of running start to get up them to get to the grocery store because we stayed in a little apartment thinking it would be cheap and we'll be on the beach and it'll be fantastic, until I had to walk and do all of these huge curbs with no cutouts. I would not recommend it, and not just walking on the street because everyone's like in a motorcycle, in a car, and like they're coming very quickly. So just understanding your accommodations before you get somewhere.
My mother and I went on safari to Africa, and they don't have any ADA stuff.
Yeah.
We're in Namibia, okay? And we were staying in lodges most of the time, and they had showers, and there's nothing to sit on in the shower. And I was on, I mean, every time we check in, I'd say, I need something to sit on in the shower, and I had all kinds of different arrangements. One time it was a wastebasket turned upside down. You know, it's like, there has to be something.
Yep.
Because this is not gonna work.
Right. Yeah, being creative with your like tools just in a room,
Yeah.
key. Like with my previous pair of this style of prosthesis, I had a screw in this like hinge joint that every single day came out, so I started using butter knives from like room service to fix it if I forgot. Like I can't travel to Dominican Republic with a giant screwdriver. That's like...
You can.
Oh, I can? I think I
Yes,
had a
you
checked
can.
bag,
And
or a non-checked
I
bag.
go
Here I am.
nowhere without Allen wrenches, and you can take tools with you.
That's good to know.
And particularly, and I always have it on the outside pocket of my suitcase, and if, you know, TSA has an argument, it's like, no, that's medical. You
Yeah.
cannot take this away
What
from me.
medical equipment?
Yeah,
You
It
cannot
is.
take
Good.
this away from me.
You have to have it.
very good
I
to
mean, I
know.
don't think I could take a knife and call it medical.
Right.
But Allen wrenches, I
Yes.
travel nowhere without Allen wrenches.
Very important.
Yes.
Yep.
That's fine. It takes an extra 60 seconds, they swab you down.
They check for
And
ballistics.
If you have the option of going through a metal detector with a big thing where you stand up, do that.
It's better to do this
Because you're gonna set off the metal detector. And I go through and they say, oh, you have metal on your leg. It's like, no. And they look at it and they're like, oh, duh. And they swab it and then you're good to go.
in your hands.
Yeah, they swab your hands and your shoes and the prosthesis and they say, have a nice day.
Yep.
It takes 60 seconds.
I've never had a bad experience.
No, it's been
Always
fine. I
been
travel all
What
the
they
time.
do?
I'm in the plane every week.
Pennsylvania Airport.
My husband wears suspenders and a belt, and they've asked him to take your suspenders off. He says, can't. Why not? My pants will fall. And then he says, well, take your belt off. No, can't. And they don't make you, but they do swab him, and his legs they swab him. They can't make you take your prosthetic off.
No.
Or your shoes with you, or your shoes.
So they might ask you, and I've walked away and told them it's illegal. And if
Yeah.
they want to ask me any questions, they can.
The people in Tucson, when we were there 2 years ago, we were leaving the airport, and there was like 5 amputees on our flight, actually, and we were leaving. And one lady, they pulled her aside and wanted her to do this, that, and she's like, I'm an amputee, for God's sake, I'm not a terrorist or
Right.
whatever. And like, you're not gonna see a bunch of us go through here, and I don't know if any of y'all would have that situation here in Louisville when you get ready to leave. The travel guide that I went to last night said sometimes in the smaller airports you have
Sure.
more difficulty than the bigger
Bigger
airports are more
airports.
used to.
Yeah.
On Richmond, Virginia, treat you like a criminal. But there's also TSA cares, you call them and they in advance, and they'll notify the local airport if you're concerned, and they should have, unless you're going to Richmond, Virginia, they'll have somebody there to facilitate.
Good to know.
Takes time.
they're very accommodating.
Yep.
Right.
And if you have like a close connecting flight, you have like 50 minutes in between,
Yeah.
ask them to wheelchair you to the next location, or they will
I've
put you on a
actually
golf
gone
cart.
in, like a golf cart.
Yep.
Like that. I was like, I'm in a hurry. They're
Yeah.
like, we'll get you there.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Plus,
Yep.
my experience with the airlines and wheelchairs is they've got this down.
Yeah.
They're waiting for you,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Yeah.
not like, where's my wheelchair?
Right. Let's see. This picture, this larger picture is just various little inserts that I've either, the one in the middle you can purchase at any shoe store. I like shoes in various styles, and these happen to have a heel. So finding things either with your prosthetist or yourself that you can kind of even out the heel like gradient. I don't know if it's an issue for people who are like single amputees, but as someone with both, I need to be able to stand like this and not tip forward, tip backwards, and just feel safe and secure. So I kind of mess around with different like inserts. Again, just udder balm and a smaller bandage thing if I'm going to like a music festival and I don't want to carry this giant blue bag with me. Already talked about that. Yeah, so that is me fixing the screw every morning for 3 years.
Put nail polish in it.
Yep, we did that, and Loctite, and it just, the design was kind of flawed, so this time I haven't had that issue in 6 months, so we'll see. Yeah, I think these are mostly pictures of my previous pair of prosthesis. So workforce struggles, I was just gonna touch upon that a little bit. I'm a clinical rehab counselor, so I work with people with disabilities becoming independent, either getting through school or work, so I kind of wanted to touch upon some things that you can accommodate or ask for. So I really like the sit to stand desk. I think it's a Veridesk. I sometimes need to stand for 5 minutes, but I don't want a desk that's just always a standing desk. And those, I think you can get them at Costco or Amazon. They're very, like, it's under like $300 at most. Again, I like to work at places that have accessible parking and accessible location, especially when it comes to like winter, like snow removal. I don't think that's a problem here in Kentucky, but throughout the state where you do get snow, understand like if they have an outside team coming in, they're probably only gonna come once, so letting your supervisor know like, hey, you need to make sure this is shoveled and salted so I can get to my car at the end of the day, or just even get into the building in the morning.
Snow's pretty bad here.
Is it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really understand. I only ever come here in the summer.
Yeah.
In our first year, before I was walking with my massage therapist, they plowed the snow over the handicap. They put it all over the
Yep. Yes.
And they also blocked the curb cut or whatever it
Yep.
is.
Happens so much. It's so frustrating.
So, my husband and they had to carry me in.
So frustrating. When to disclose you have a disability to your employer? I wouldn't do it before you're hired. I would say it like if they offer you the job, then you can disclose, I have this disability, here's the accommodations I need. Also, if you get benefits through like SSI or SSDI or maybe workers' compensation, just understanding how working so many hours would affect those benefits. It's not like you can work
like so many hours
Yeah.
before
Yep.
they take away your money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes people want to keep that just so they have their Medicaid health insurance, which is crucial. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being able to advocate like how much standing, sitting, stooping, walking, bending, all of those things, and explain to your your employer, sometimes I can do these, sometimes I can't. And again, I already said that part. These are my new prostheses. They're very like realistic. I wanted them to be very symmetrical for once because they are different residual limb looks, I guess.
You're taller now.
And I'm 2 inches taller, which is a perk of being a bilateral amputee. So you can tell them how tall you want to be.
And you get to pick your shoe size.
Yep, I've had the same shoe size since I was 20, so I have a lot of shoes to pick from. And I guess this is just the last thing. Let's see. Everything's 100% custom made, but my feet are the Seattle Lightfoot 2 for both legs. And my left side is the only one with a mechanical knee component, and it's the Osser Total Knee 2100. And this side is just my own residual limb that propels me forward, and it's my dominant leg, I suppose. And I had to text my prosthetist last night and ask her because I don't ever know what my parts are called, but I know I get these questions a lot, so yeah.
I'm the same way.
And that was the first day I wore them, and I went to work, and that was after like 3 months of practicing. So it's not like I put them on and just walked out the door. Yeah. And if anybody wants to follow me on social media, I have some, if you follow me on Facebook, we can message and email back and forth. Yeah.
Have we put some?
Oh yeah, and she has a women's retreat information she wants to pass out if anyone's interested.
So Empower is putting on a women's conference on October 8th, and it is in Cleveland, South Carolina. So if anyone's interested, I have lots of flyers, and there's more at the
We've
hangar
both
booth.
been, and it's amazing.
I met her 2 years ago at the women's retreat.
Yeah, I love it. It's so much
You want
fun.
that flyer?
Looks like somewhere in October for a day.
They start another one finally comes to the terminal just this week.
Oh, that's great.
I'm not disabled. I'm not handicapped. Just have conversations.
Yeah, isn't it so relieving? It's like a weight off your shoulders. Like, you don't realize how constricting it is until you're like, oh, this isn't really that big of a deal. I can get through this.
The day before I got here.
Did you? Oh, really? That's awesome.
No thanks.
Looked at me and said, like you need God. And I looked at him and said,
Yeah. Put my one on.
I'm not disabled. I'm not handicapped. I'm not limitations. And walked away.
Yeah. So empowering, isn't it? Being able to walk away after you've stood up for yourself.
I thought, man, felt good.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any other questions? Otherwise, I'll wrap all of my stuff up here. No? I might have gone over my time. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.